Welcome back to Up Close. We continue our conversation with NYPD Commissioner Jimmy O'Neill. And before we get off this concealed weapons carry permit thing, I have one more question. When someone pulls a gun on the NYPD, you pull your guns. If someone is pulling out his gun or her gun and they are legally permitted to carry that gun under federal law here in New York as well, because they're permitted in Arkansas or someplace, what do you do? How do you make a decision whether the person's not going to say, oh, I have a carry permit. Oh yeah, let me see your papers. Well, they got to put down their gun if they're in the middle of the situation. It is fraught with bad possibilities.
It makes it infinitely harder for the men and women of the NYPD to figure out who owns a gun legally. And if someone's pulling out a gun in Times Square and there are police officers there and that gun is being pointed at someone else, it just makes for just the potential for a tragic situation.
Okay. Well, there's a lot more to talk about with this, but you have done certainly the lion's share of the work trying to lobby against this. So far, you're losing, but we'll see what happens when the Senate comes up to a vote on this. I thank you for talking so honestly about that. Let me talk a little bit more about the things that keep you awake at night. You've been on the job for a year and a half. Your first weekend, who will remember? Who will ever forget your first few days on the job? Right, terrorist attack.
Yeah, the first day on the job was the Chelsea bombing.
Right, and so
it's been 15 months, so not a year and a half yet.
15
seems like
months.
a year and a half.
No, you want to be accurate. And I appreciate that's what our job is, to be accurate. So I appreciate the correction. It seems like a year and a half. Seems like more than that, doesn't it?
At times. I'm a lucky guy. I started out as a transit cop back in 1983, patrolling the subways, and to think that somehow, some way, that I'd be able to rise to this position, I just find every day I wake up and kind of going, I'm the police commissioner of the best police department in the world, so I'm a real lucky person. I work with great people. What they do each and every day, what Officer Ryan Nash did on this past Halloween, where do you see things like that? The courage he displayed and his partners, they really did not know what they were facing, and Ryan just went right to it.
Your police officers are now more often than not, and across the country, the first responders to a terrorist attack. Are you adjusting your training for that?
Yeah, we have, I think the number last time I checked was over 7,000 people trained in active shooter response, because we have an expectation that, and we know that if something does happen, it's going to be the sector cop. It's going to be somebody from Midtown South or the 2.
Not EMS.
Yeah, no, right? It's not going to be our specialty units. It's not going to be the Critical Response Command. Not going to be the Strategic Response Group, and it's not going to be our elite unit, the Emergency Services Unit. It's going to be
ESU.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 cops in a sector car, and they're going to roll up. And our expectation is, as long as they have enough people with them, which would probably be another car, that they go in and stop the killing. And if we have that expectation, we have to make sure that they have the training to do that, and they also have the equipment to do that. So now each and every police officer has a ballistic helmet, and they also have a ballistic insert. Each RMP, each police car has a ballistic vest over their regular vest.
But what a complicated job then for some, especially for a young officer, having to be an anti-terrorism cop and at the same time be a community police officer.
Yeah, Ryan's 25 years old,
right.
And this is a decision that he and his partners had to make. And it's New York City cops have a wide range of skills. You have to be with neighborhood policing. You have to have communication skills, and I think that's truly what's driving this crime decrease, because we're establishing relationships. We're keeping those relationships. We're being responsive to the communities all around New York City. So we have high expectations of our police officers, and they are the best group of people that I've ever worked with. And I tell them that all the time, that you are in a position where you can truly make a difference each and every day.
You are starting a new ad campaign soon, a PR campaign. You're featured in the spots about community policing. What's the point of it? What's the message?
I think the message is that people need to know what we're doing. So I'm not sure this is something that people in New York City hear about every day. Unfortunately, I don't think, and this is the business you're in, I'm not sure if good news always sells.
Yeah.
And I think the people that live in the city, the people that come here to work, they need to know how we're evolving and how our cops are making a difference each and every day, and the sacrifices that they make. Last July 5th, Minnesota's Familia was murdered up in the Bronx. Last November, Stephen McDonald died on January 10th. And then Sergeant Paul DeZullo was murdered up in the Bronx in the 4-3 last November 4th. And If we have a website, NYPD News. We had a plaque dedication for Paul on November 4th of this year, and his widow, Lisa, gave a 23-minute speech at that plaque dedication. It's on our website, and if you Google or YouTube Lisa Tizzulo, The Truth, you'll get an earful of what it means when you kill a cop.
The hardest thing for any commissioner is to speak at an officer's eulogy and funeral and give the eulogy. You've done it. Your predecessor, Bill Bratton, did it. Yep. He's told me many times it's the hardest thing he has to do, the most gut-wrenching thing he has to do.
It is, and I think in this position, that is what you worry about constantly: the safety of your police officers. I gave the eulogy at Detective Familia's funeral last July, and I made a point to let people know what cops do, and how everything in society seems to come down to the police have to take care of it. And I think it's got to be a more holistic approach to crime in New York City, and will continue to get even safer and safer.
When the mayor first took over 4 years ago, the relationship between the community and the NYPD was not great. Was not great at all. And how would you assess it right now?
I think it's getting better and better every day. I think in my old precinct, the 4-4, I was able to go up there a couple of months ago and speak to two or three of the neighborhood coordination officers, and you can see it in their face. They can feel the change. We have to trust our police officers if the community is going to trust us. And what they do every day, the relationships they're building, and it's a crime-fighting strategy. It's not about just going out and shaking hands and talking to people. We still have expectations that we're going to keep pushing crime down. And the cops know this. They understand what their mission is. The steady sector cops, where they're going to community meetings, they're hearing from the people they're sworn to protect and serve, and it's really making a difference. To have that one-on-one relationship with the community, I think really makes a difference for our police officers. You've
been a cop a long time. As you said, you started as a transit cop. You were chief of department before you got this job. Other than putting on a suit, what's been the most surprising thing you have to do every day that has surprised you, caught you off guard, maybe you weren't prepared for?
I was pretty busy as the chief of department,
yeah.
But the schedule that I have now, it's something else. It's from dawn to 10 o'clock every night. But I revel in it. I have the opportunity to make a big difference in this city. I have the opportunity to lead the most courageous people that I've ever met, all 36,000 uniformed people and the 16,000 civilians. So I think that's the one thing that maybe caught me a little bit, just the intensity of the schedule.
You seem very calm on the outside. You're talking to me, sitting down for this show, doing this. How many different things are going through your head right now that are important in and of themselves?
It's funny you say that. My chief of staff is Ray Spinella. He's a 3-star chief, and we talk about this all the time. So how many things are we working on at the moment? And I'm not, no exaggeration, probably 50 to 75 things.
So maybe we're having you relax a little bit, taking you out of that milieu and sitting down just chatting.
No, it's all going around in my head. Still going around in my head.
Right, so you're still thinking about it. And are there things right now that if you told the New Yorkers, they would be scared about? That you know, that, or you're worried about?
I don't think it's a question of being scared. I don't. We're not, New Yorkers are not, we're not fearful people. But I think what I would ask is that people pay attention to what's going on and help us do our jobs. Maybe take your headphones off, stop and looking at your phone when you're going around the city. If you're on the subway, look around, see what's going on. And if you see something that doesn't look right or makes you uncomfortable, call 911 or talk to a police officer. And I don't think that's something maybe you should do. I think it's an obligation.
Mm-hmm.
If you're going to live in the city, you have to contribute to keeping us all safe.
You are in 15 months into the job, but the mayor is starting his second term. Your intention is to stay?
I love this job. I love being a cop, and if the mayor wants me to stay, I'll stay as long as he wants me here. I just couldn't think of doing anything else right now.
And your relationship with the mayor?
It's great. He's completely supportive of the NYPD.
Seems like you have a kind of friendly relationship as well.
Yeah, he's. I think he's doing a great job, and he's a real good human being, and he's got a terrific sense of humor.
When the mayor ran for re-election last month, the head of the Sergeants Union came out very much against him in favor of the Republican candidate. Did you have a reaction to that? Do you think that affects how you get to do your job because you have to have such a close relationship with the mayor? Did it impact you at all?
No, I don't think so. That's Sergeant Ed Mullins. not always on definitely not always on the same side of the coin here. We have differing opinions on many issues, but I think it's important to recognize the fact that the mayor has done a lot for the safety of the people of the city, and maybe the NYPD needs a better vehicle for letting the men and women of this police department know that.
Okay. A couple quality of life issues. Homelessness, it's hard for anyone to argue that it's not terrible out there, especially as it gets cold. You see people on the streets all the time. How do your officers handle this?
It's a difficult situation, but we do have a strategy, and again, this is what I spoke about before. Homeless it's not just a policing problem. It's not just an NYPD problem. The mayor has a program with Steve Banks from HRA. His DHS personnel go out there and do street outreach every day. We have over 100 police officers that do that around the city each and every day. We're looking to get people into shelters. We're looking to get people off the streets. But some people are service resistant, and it's difficult. So we do what we can to make sure that people are safe. And then, of course, if there are any violations being committed, we address those also.
We just have a minute left, and so many people say, when they heard I was interviewing you, say, well, ask about this, and that's why I'm going to ask about it. There is absolutely no question, just as there's more homeless people on the streets of New York, you walk down the streets of New York now, and you smell marijuana. There's just no question about it in places you didn't smell it before. You guys are supposed to write tickets if you see it, but that's not happening much anyway. What a difference from when you first started as a cop to now and how we handle marijuana on the streets of New York.
Yeah, there is a big difference, and there were some changes made. Now, if you possess a small amount of marijuana, you're going to get a summons, but it is still illegal. It's still a misdemeanor to smoke marijuana in public, so there's still enforcement.
You don't see it much. I mean, as just an average citizen walking down the street, you don't see that much. I assume that's not the top priority in the NYPD.
Right, there are priorities, but we also have to make sure that we're controlling disorder too. It's important to. I was a precinct commander for 6.5 years, and if I did not address quality of life conditions, I wouldn't have been a precinct commander very long.
Jimmy O'Neill, Commissioner of the NYPD, thank you so much.
Thanks, Bill.
Really great talking to you.
Great to be here.
Right. We'll get to interview at another time, I'm sure. Thanks. We'll be right back with more of Up Close. Stay with us.